Of looking at media, but they both do work really well. We'll run this demo video on the 8900. John Mayer, who I really can't stand, and then we'll call up a video on the Storm as well. Now, when I first, excuse me, when I first unboxed and reviewed the Storm, I launched this video and it crashed the phone really hard. I think since now they've gotten that worked out a little bit. You know, your media experience is going to be a little bit better on the Storm just because the screen is bigger, and you know, your full screen mode is in widescreen on the Storm. But you know, the 8900, the screen is really crisp. It looks really nice, so not a lot to complain about there. As long as you don't mind the smaller screen. And that kind of brings me back to what for me is kind of the crux of these two devices, and why, you know, why I'm calling the DogFight as I'm calling it in terms of a winner, which is, what do you want out of your phone? And for me, if I'm getting a BlackBerry, the BlackBerry email and messaging experience is first and foremost. And I understand that there are some people who need to have a BlackBerry for work reasons, or, you know, are reliant on the BlackBerry email system, or have to be on Verizon and want a really cool touchscreen media phone, and so that's where the Storm comes into play. I get it, I understand. But for me, when I'm looking at these two devices head to head, it's a BlackBerry, and I want the best messaging experience possible. And for me, that's the 8900, and it comes down to the keyboard. Actually using the keyboard, as well as I really like the trackball for getting around. But actually, you know, composing messages and typing and everything, you can't beat the experience of the actual keyboard, even though I can't spell today. The keyboard on the 8900 is a little bit more kind of stiff and plasticky, like click feeling. I don't mean plasticky in a bad way, but kind of more chiclet style than on the Bold. The Bold is a bigger keyboard. You know, this is the Curve Heritage. The Bold is the what is it? The 8800 Heritage, I believe, with the more grid-like layout with the square keys that don't have any space in between them. The Bold has a little bit softer action. The keys are a little bit bigger. The 8900, again, it's like the previous generation Curves. It works really well. It's a good keyboard. The trackball is really good. It looks like they've done a little work so that it's going to be a little more resistant to dust and other junk getting in there. But if you do a lot of email, if you're a Crackberry addict, you know, I really think you're going to want the full-on keyboard, as opposed to the Storm, which, in addition to having other, you know, kind of funkiness about the operating system, the accelerometer and stuff, when you're composing, you know, when you're writing an email, you can have the shirt type style keyboard, vertical. You can switch to a T9 multi-tap style keyboard, or you can rotate the phone, the accelerometer kicks in, you get a full QWERTY. But the full QWERTY here, I just, you know, me personally, I don't really like this clicking keyboard thing. That being said, I just did pretty well with it. But I don't know, I don't think you can go as fast on it as you can on a regular keyboard. It's a little bit funky. I found that when I cross over my right thumb to the left side of the keyboard or vice versa, because of the way it reads the angles, it messes up, and I'm not really a big fan of it. I think they would have done better to have a non-clicking screen. That being said, I've gotten a lot of responses from people who have the Storm and love it, and are just like, dude, you don't know how to use it, or you know, what have you. So that's really a personal thing. If you're interested in the Storm, just go, I mean, either phone, go try before you buy. But for me, the actual physical QWERTY keyboard, you know, outweighs the importance of the full touchscreen and media experience, because it's a BlackBerry. And you know, if you want a heavy-duty media phone, there are other choices that I think are a little bit better than the Storm. But again, like I said, if you're tied to BlackBerry or you're tied to Verizon and you want the cool touchscreen and the big screen for looking at photos and videos and stuff like that, I get it. I get why the Storm is out. I get why it's popular. I get why they did it. It makes a lot of sense. Both devices also feature 3.2 megapixel camera, autofocus, flash, and video capture. Amongst the best cameras, if not the best ones that BlackBerry's ever had in a phone. That being said, it's still a cell phone camera. You know, these are not on par with something like the Moto Z and ZN5, which is maybe the best camera phone available, at least on a U.S. carrier, or the higher-end Nokia phones. But definitely, you know, a step up from the older Black phones, and both of these things kick the iPhone's butt, that's for sure. All right, so as you can see, these are both really full-featured devices, and you know they really try to merge the best of two worlds with the legendary BlackBerry email service, which is still the best in the business when it comes to, you know, getting your email delivered to you instantly, push email, full-featured messaging with the IM and the BlackBerry Messenger and all that stuff. But then also combining that with some newer consumer features that people, you know, really seem to want out of their cell phones, namely full web browser. Both phones feature the new OS 4.6. The in true T-Mobile tradition, the 8900, you know, T-Mobile's often last to the game, but they usually get it right. And the 8900, you know, hasn't actually shipped to consumers yet. The version that I have, like I said, works really, really well, except for some minor Wi-Fi issues, some battery life issues, which apparently the newest build, the 0.33 build, which is leaking around the internet in a beta at the time that I'm recording this, seems to correct those battery issues. So hopefully by the time it actually ships to consumers, all that stuff will be kind of taken care of. And then the Storm, you know, it shipped. It was a mess when it shipped. Myself and lots of other reviewers really took BlackBerry and Verizon to the woodshed for shipping a phone in such poor shape. Since then, as you probably know, BlackBerry's co-CEO has come out and said, well, that's the reality now. Smartphones ship with lousy software, which, come on, man, that doesn't pay it. Come on, you can do better than that. And they have. They've been good about shipping out firmware updates, and the Storm is in much better shape than when it first launched. I still don't like the touchscreen. I don't like the clickable thing. I think it's hard to type on. I think, you know, I understand they wanted to make a full touchscreen BlackBerry with all the consumer features, like I was saying, the high-res screen, the new web browser, the audio and video playback, the photo browsing, that kind of stuff. And it looks gorgeous on the Storm. It looks gorgeous on the 8900 too. And for my money, if I'm getting a BlackBerry and I'm paying for the BlackBerry data plan, I want the ease of use for messaging. So that's why my winner in this dogfight is the 8900. No surprise if you're a PhoneDog regular, because you know I've not been a fan of the Storm. But I think, you know, you get the full high-res display, even though it is much smaller than on the Storm. It's still high-res. It's gorgeous. You get, you don't have 3G, but you do have Wi-Fi. And on the Storm, you don't have Wi-Fi, but you do have 3G. So, you know, the 3G is probably a little more handy, but Edge is still fine for messaging. It only really slows you down with web browsing. And again, with BlackBerry, the heart of the BlackBerry is the messaging and the email. So, you know, I think really it comes down to the form factor. I love the full QWERTY keyboard. I love that it's a little bit lighter and sleeker looking than the previous Curve. You know, it's kind of like a Bold Jr. in a lot of ways. And it's still got the headphone jack and the updated camera, that kind of stuff. And then T-Mobile throws My Faves and UMA calling on top, which are, you know, good features for the value-minded user. So, you know, lots of BlackBerry users now are consumers paying their own bills, so it's definitely something to look into. And also the UMA calling really helps with signal strength and voice quality if you're in an area where reception's kind of fuzzy. And the voice quality in this phone is great. Voice quality in the Storm's been pretty good too. So there you go, the Storm and the 8900. Honestly, within their limitations, you know, they both function really well at this point. Like I said, the Storm with the latest firmware is working a lot better than it did when it shipped. And some people really like the touchscreen. I don't. You might. In that case, Storm might be your winner. But for me, it's the 8900. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in. PhoneDog Dogfight. Much, much more on the 8900, the Storm, and all the other BlackBerries, including the Bold, the Pearl Flip, and whatever's coming next from BlackBerry. We got it for you on PhoneDog.com. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Noah. We'll see you next time. Bye.